What's good, your boy HK back for reaction today, and I seen a video that looked really interesting, and the title caught my eye. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I'm about to react to it with y'all. You feel me? Like I said, I have no clue what this is. My first time ever seeing this channel, but this from that title alone, you caught my interest, and I'm about to see. So if y'all not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, that like button, and make sure I recommend the things y'all want me to watch on the channel. But let's get to it. All right, y'all. This is what happens when the villain is right. You know what I'm saying? When I seen it, I was like, you right about that, because sometimes I didn't see a few movies. I don't know if they was right, but I feel what they was saying. This is by Scrawls. Make sure y'all go check the channel out. But let's get to it.
Wait, no. Heroes are supposed to be right.
I mean, not all the time, right?
In every adventure cartoon and shonen anime, the protagonists take on heroic traits.
That's a fact.
They protect the weak, uplift their friends, and save the world. All goals shaped in contrast to those of a villain.
Adventure Time.
When I look back
I still
at
ain't
the
finished
stories
that.
that I love,
Arcane.
I can't help but be drawn to that villain. In college, I'm reading Beowulf, an Old Norse myth that is a foundation of Western storytelling.
Beowulf is a fire movie. I don't know if y'all seen that movie. I seen that when I was younger, way long time ago. Good movie.
In which a hero, Beowulf, kills a villain, Grendel. Yet despite Beowulf being the hero, I can't help but feel pity for Grendel. He's a monstrous, ogre-like murdering giant compared to a demon. But he has a mother who mourns him. Villains are supposed to be evil, terrifying, and wrong. But what happens when villains are more human than that? What happens when the heroes falter, stumble, or sin? What happens when the societies that heroes defend are the ones that create villains? What happens when the villain is right?
He spin! He spin! Hey, he talking! Hey, he flowing! I'm knowing! I'm going! I'm like... That's a good point though, bro. A lot of times it be the society that makes the villain.
Silco and even Dr. Doofenshmirtz are all answers
Doof?
to this
What happened with Doof?
So sit back and join me as we explore the world of villains.
Okay, I think this might be a good video. Puss in Boots.
You are being
Castlevania,
hunted.
I know that one.
This villain is chasing you right now.
That's a good one.
In fact, it's hunting all of us. A slow, terrifying
I never seen Puss in Boots, by the way.
This is the price of mortality. A price that Puss in Boots cannot accept. In doing so, he invites the first villain of this video to prove the hero.
I've never seen this movie still. I heard it was so good.
In some stories, villains aren't mortal agents of evil, but instead forces of nature and the universe itself, attempting to undo the injustice the hero has created.
That's a fact.
Forces like death. You know it, you love it. Sometimes it's portrayed as a peaceful shepherd of souls, and other times, well, it becomes something out of a slasher film. In Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Puss
I need to
faces
see this
death,
movie, bro.
not metaphorically
Heard it was
or
so good.
figuratively or rhetorically, just death himself. In this case, Puss is the character who has sinned. Even though he's a hero, he's indulged in pleasures in each of his 9 lives, living recklessly until he realizes he's on his last one. And death decides to end this kitty once and for all.
Oh my,
Death is right. Puss has taken his lives for granted. Death's hunt
so you gotta finish him?
can be seen as an extension of the cycle of life and death. Puss has overstayed, thus someone must eliminate him.
Brother, why?
I would argue that Death is still a villain, not just an antagonist.
No, that's a villain.
He's not a completely neutral arbiter. If he were, wouldn't he have just simply ended Puss's life? Despite the underlying moral justice, Death relishes in the fear he causes Puss. Death personified is cackling and playful. He drives Puss into corners, mocks him, brings on anxiety attacks and dread, gaining a sick kind of pleasure in enacting revenge. To me, this is villainous.
You just described the villain of villains. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't seen the movie, but from what he described, that's a villain, bro. That's
only when Puss
that's not even
his lesson that death
you know what I mean?
stops. When Puss accepts his mortality and faces his fear, death stops his attack. Disappointed that his prey has ended their game of cat and
that's a villain, bro.
Death is averted, but to return another day. Death comes for all of us, and in that, he's completely correct. In Beowulf, when the Nordic warrior kills Grendel's mother, and the dragon, are we supposed to bat an eye? The modern idea of a hero and their adventures is so deeply influenced by Beowulf.
You described the villain of villains.
And so the modern day villain must draw from Grendel, right?
Okay.
Grendel, said to be the descendant of Cain, the Bible's first murderer, is clearly supposed to be evil. He attacks a mead hall every night, murdering people in their sleep because he hates the noise of its revelry and celebration.
Yeah, that's a villain.
That's terrible. About
as monstrous
as you can get. But I remember laying in my own college dorm room at night, trying to get some shut-eye for my exam the next morning when the neighbor next door decides
I agree, but I didn't kill him.
Party, blaring music until 4 a.m.
That wasn't the solution.
To want peace? Does Grendel, like Death himself, simply want the humans to stop their prideful celebrations?
That's cool, but you don't murk them.
Death stoops down to follow more human-like impulses, his wrath is focused on one person alone. On the other hand, a character like Castlevania's Dracula lets his human-like impulses drive him to ascend into being a force of nature. One that is apocalyptic.
It was
begin with
Castlevania was a little more understanding, bro, because they did him dirty.
We've all loved before, and in Castlevania, Dracula is no different.
Yeah.
In this Netflix adaptation,
Dracula
has a human wife named Lisa, a brilliant woman of science and sass, whom the humans accuse of witchcraft. Dracula, known to be a violent monster, had found domestic bliss with Lisa until she was burned at the stake by religious leaders.
That did her so wrong.
Dracula took this one action as justification of the evils of all mankind. What was seeded in love grew into loss and exploded into something sick and massive. Dracula's plan to destroy all humans with a plague of hellish retribution. He unleashed armies and armies of monsters across the world.
Now this one I understood.
If humans could hurt and unjustly punish someone as pure as Lisa, should they be allowed to thrive? Any one of them could have stopped it, Dracula says. Like the angry god of the Old Testament, Dracula seeks to cleanse the world.
I can feel why he did what he did,
bro.
However,
Dracula's efforts are haphazard, grotesque, and disorderly.
Yeah.
Instead of that biblical flood of ocean, Wallachia is drowned in senseless seas of blood. The other vampires fighting alongside him even wish that his attacks are more orderly, more militaristic. But Dracula doesn't
I hate that one vampire girl,
bro.
She was
a strange depression.
She was hating, bro.
Inside of him, but human grief and demonic rage. It's wrong to kill an innocent. That's something baked into basic morality. And it's right to mourn those we lose.
What is this? It's a real picture.
A hero may hunt only those who lead the witch hunt against Lisa, a villain takes this moral failure and uses it to wipe out everyone, perpetuating an endless cycle
a really good show,
violence.
By the way.
Coming back to Grendel, there's a part of me that feels even more pity for his mother. While Grendel and his mother are monsters,
even monsters have loved ones sometimes.
Exiles on the edge of human civilization. Beneath that villainous expression of violence, these creatures cling to things that we all do. Community, family, love. And when Grendel dies, the only one who mourns for him is his mother, who lashes out towards the men who killed her son. Is it wrong to mourn those you loved? One of the surest ways to create a villain is to revoke that love from them. It's basically a cliche at this point. Villains aren't born, they're made.
Come on now.
But in Tai Lung's case, it bears truth.
Kung Fu
Panda. The villain of the first Kung Fu Panda movie is Tai Lung, a savage martial artist who was once a child prodigy raised by Master Shifu. Master Shifu adopted the orphan, raised him, trained him, and loved him as if he was his own child. And as if he was destined to become the Dragon Warrior. Tai Lung himself was also exceptionally talented at fighting, mastering all 1,000 scrolls of Kung Fu. But despite Tai Lung's talent, Master Oogway saw only ambition and rage in the young warrior.
He wasn't seeing
Master Oogway denied the role of Dragon Warrior to Tai Lung, but Shifu, his master, essentially his father, did nothing. Said nothing on his son's behalf. And just like that, Tai Lung, his entire life changed. He took this as betrayal and used his martial arts skills to destroy. He would go on to ravage the
Tai Lung was so flyer, bro.
Then he was imprisoned for 20 years in a prison built by Oogway that had its construction overseen by the one person who had shown Tai Lung love. No wonder that when he broke out, he sought out to unleash his rage, hunting the new Dragon Warrior, a certain
just to
panda.
see an empty
There's
scroll.
a whole movie about that, actually. He said that it had been Shifu who filled his head with dreams and drove him to train until his bones broke. Shifu had tried to build a hero out of an outsider, but when that title was denied to Tai Lung, the spark of family was snuffed out when he did nothing to help his son. Tai Lung had nothing but his father and Kung Fu, so when one of those abandoned him, what did he have left? His father and the community around Kung Fu locked him away. In some ways, the heroes of the world were proving Tai Lung's spite right. Rather than try to sympathize with him, rehabilitate him, or find a new pathway for him besides being the Dragon Warrior, he was left.
You know what I'm saying?
Would imprisoning Grendel instead of killing him be any better? Would exiling his mother do any good but further her rage? Maybe when villains like Tai Lung are right, they expose something cruel in our idols. Fathers, masters, gods, and kings should not go by unquestioned. Dang. Villains have the courage to show us the cracks in things like love and tradition. They force us to reconsider the forces we claim to be good. But Tai Lung's violence is still cruel. His pride is still wrong. Like a toddler throwing a tantrum, he seeks attention in the most destructive of ways.
Destructive.
Or instead of hunting a person or people, why not target a system?
Damn. You see the way he just slammed that boy in his neck?
And progress. A whimsical
neck bone snapped all in half.
Sounds perfect,
Arcane, right? Arcane.
Just forget the part about this being from League of Legends and you'll be fine. But this utopia is built on top of an underground of both lawlessness and community, darkness and the most scarred forms of hope. In the noxious fumes below, children play without care, while topsiders who venture down must wear masks, unaccustomed to the smog they've created themselves. This is the world of Arcane, and it's very easy to see the disparity between Piltover.
Nah, Jinx story is sad, bro. I did feel bad for Jinx, bro. You know what I mean? I can see why she just wanted to be loved. You know what I'm saying? It was sad, bro. What happened? It was sad. It was sad.
Sometimes called Zon. But few people work to change this injustice when they spot it. Few people are like Silco. Growing up in the Undercity, Vander and Silco faced the slums like brothers until Vander betrayed Silco for some reason, leaving Silco scarred and vengeful. Silco grew into a ruthless chem baron who went to dangerous lengths to control others in the Undercity and expand his drug empire. And eventually when Vander was taken out of the equation, Silco took over more formally. Later on, Silco even made a deal with Piltover, arguing for the Undercity to be liberated as the free nation of Zon. And surprisingly, they began to listen to Silco. As violence between the two states grew, the disparity could not be denied any longer. The Undercity was being discriminated against and overwhelmed by the effects of
pollution, toxin, bro.
Drug abuse, and apathy. But the Undercity was its own being by now. It could not continue to be dragged around and manipulated by Piltover. At the end of the first season, the Council of Piltover gathered to plan this new change. We see that when the villain is right, sometimes change must happen. But as much as Silco pushed for a free nation of Zon, and the council almost let it happen, other dominoes were knocked over. A certain blue-haired girl named Jinx, raised by Silco, chose to kill him. And then she let her destructive impulses free, unleashing devastation. And now Zon's independence is still up in the air until we find out what happens next in Season 2. Silco represents not just rage at an individual, but a larger societal anger with a clear injustice in front of him. Why should his people suffer while topsiders live so peacefully? Why must society damn those below? But in the end, it's another form of betrayal that comes and ends him. In Beowulf, the Nordic tradition is about strength, and King Hrothgar's goodness is measured by his capability to conquer.
See how depressing the world really is, bro. That's all this video doing. I'm sorry if y'all trying to feel depressed, but this is facts, though. This is a good video. This is a really good video.
Hrothgar's mead hall. Is he not just a reflection of the society's violence?
I began to be more amused and frightened.
I think it's like the role of the villain to force change in a society and to hold a mirror to the madness that is often overlooked. But what happens when a society traps a villain in this madness and laughs? Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz is comically, aggressively, and kind of paradoxically evil and pathetic.
Bro, I haven't watched Phineas and Ferb for years, bro.
Fighting a secret agent every day. For years. And he even has his own jingle. Dr. Doof's backstory is also filled to the brim with some of the most tragic and comically tragic moments. Growing up, he was forced by his father to be a garden gnome.
That's kind of crazy.
His mother failed to love him because he was bad at kickball. Apparently, his two parents weren't even there to show up at his birth. His life was driven to a cartoonish extreme because, well, he's a cartoon. And in the series,
he deserved this. He allowed to do
his everyday life becomes a kind of loop. Something in his everyday life inconveniences him, such as being insecure about his squeaky voice or wanting to give his teenage daughter a nice birthday surprise. Then he creates something over the top to deal with this problem. Perry the Platypus stops him, and it blows up in his face, quite literally. As funny as he is, this loop also seems kind of like Sisyphus, the old Greek myth of the guy who had to push the boulder up and up, but only for it to fall over and over. Doof is trapped in the society of inconvenience.
Nah, Doof is man, you gotta pass.
Fail videos
I didn't know that.
Or disrespect him in the smallest of ways. He's stuck, constantly trying to improve his life, but finding a new issue in his way. He's just like me for real. And his overzealous crazed ability to create dramatic giant machines to deal with every little problem comes from a very human place, wanting to be respected, wanting to be happy, and wanting to make those he cares about safe and happy. We laugh at him not because he's completely wrong, but the ways he tries to solve his everyday issues are blown so far out of proportion. We get the satisfaction of seeing him bite him back in the butt, but there's kind of a catharsis in seeing that.
Honestly,
maybe
you deserve everything you go through, though, bro. Because the fact that you don't realize that Perry the Platypus is Perry the Platypus,
because it reminds us
that's on you.
Our own
that's
lives,
on you, bro.
Being stuck
that's
in
on
a loop, episode after episode, problem after problem, knowing that no matter what he tries, he'll try again next time. Is that so evil? Beowulf
he got a pass. He get a pass.
Passed down by oral tradition. People would memorize the poem they heard
and perform
it for the next generation. But then it was documented and written down and turned into countless adaptations. It's inspired the fabric of nearly all Western hero stories. It's even one of the key inspirations for The Lord of the Rings. Over and over, the story is told, and over, Grendel is killed. Through the art form of storytelling, like Doofenshmirtz, he is doomed to repeat his mistakes. Is that madness?
It's depressing, bro.
Life. What does it look like when a villain tries to control the madness of reality, fighting to protect stability, but doing so through violent, often at times overpowering ways? Look no further than the one and only Spider-Man.
Okay.
2099. Technically, you might argue
he was tweaking, bro.
Isn't a villain. He's not evil like Green Goblin or the Spot. He's just an antagonist, one that opposes the protagonist, Miles Morales. And with that, I honestly agree. He inhabits a more gray space of somewhere from antagonist to anti-hero to villain. But at the same time, look at this guy. He's got vampire fangs. What can you?
Yeah.
That's a villain right there.
Nah, he definitely looks like a villain.
Fine. He's not a clear-cut villain. He's an antagonist with both heroic intentions and some villainous traits. Miguel is a Spider-Man that lost his entire dimension, and in this grief, he becomes paranoid. He's a Spider-Man who doesn't quip, amassing an army of different spider people and pigs and horses and trying to control I can see his point of view. He surveys it all, trying to make sure that the canon events happen and that order remains in balance. But in doing so, Miguel allows people to die. Canon events can entail horrific tragedies that must happen in order to maintain the universe's stability.
But he don't know if he do the other way. You know what I'm saying? Go bad.
Villainous in order to save everyone. From the perspective of Miles Morales, it's easy to see Miguel as a villain. He represents a darker Spider-Man who has seemingly given up on saving certain people. And when it's discovered that Miles may be an anomaly, Miguel ruthlessly traps him, trying to prevent him from saving his father from another villain. Is it the hero or the villain who should decide the fate of others? The webs of hero, anti-hero, and villain all become blurred. Miguel is right to try to save the universe, but is it right to let another Ben die over and over? Is it right to watch Gwen Stacy fall to her doom 100 times over and not do anything? At what point does it become too much? At what point does he become a true villain? Out of the different depictions of Beowulf, there's a book by John
I wouldn't think Miguel's a villain,
Grendel's perspective instead. And based on that book, there's a 1981 animated film called Grendel, Grendel, Grendel. They have similarities and differences, but in the end, they give the villain of the story the main perspective, and we as the audience can't help but empathize with him. He's still a murderer.
Yeah, you can always. I feel like for a lot of villains you can empathize with a little bit.
But the simple act of following him rather than Beowulf exposes his loneliness, his curiosity, and his humanity. Would Miles Morales become the villain if we followed Miguel's perspective? Heroes or villains, monsters or humans, right or wrong?
Talk to me.
In this video, I've asked a lot of questions. Believe me, I wish I had more answers, man.
Damn.
Maybe that's the point of a villain being right. When someone supposedly evil has a point, then we question our own ideas of good. Villains reflect the injustices of society, giving us a lens to view our world and notice the darkness and the light. But through the extreme actions they take on, heroes are dragged into the fray. Innocents get hurt.
Yup.
In the game of hero and villain chess, the hero has 3 moves to respond to the villain's moral check.
What am I watching?
The first is to deny that the villain was right, to find another way. In Spider-Verse, Miles runs from Miguel, zooming on his way to find his father, rejecting the idea that all is lost, that people must die to be Spider-Man. Whether this is right or wrong, the villain moves the hero to act and to figure out their own truth. The second is for the hero to accept that they
are a villain.
Puss in Boots realizes that he needs to value his last life instead of recklessly wishing for the next. And the third and final way is somewhere in between.
Killmonger.
It is to listen to the villain and to try to teach them, to engage in a conversation and show them mercy. This is when the hero believes in both the good and the bad of their world. They try to come to an understanding between the flaws that the villain sees in the world and the goodness the hero knows still remains.
Chucky?
In the comment section of the YouTube video on Grendel,
that's the villain too.
There's a comment that says that Peter Ustinov, the voice of Grendel, said that this film was a tribute to monsters who, after all, are doing their job, keeping us on our toes. I think this bears true.
Can we get rid of that job, please?
Monsters and villains all alike force us to stay vigilant and to reconsider what we know. They keep us on our toes. At the end of the film, after watching this bumbling mama's boy ogre observe humans, he enters the mead hall one last time, meeting his doom. Beowulf has arrived, and he manages to pull Grendel's arm off.
Oh my!
Grendel begins to die. He stumbles outside, and we watch him lie there alone,
very brutal, eh?
calling for his mother. When I see this villain there alone, I can't help but feel sad. I don't think we should let Grendel devour more folks or evil scientists take over the tri-state area.
Me either.
But they do deserve something. They
Jail
deserve
time.
to at least have someone to give them a chance
Not fair,
and to listen to them. For it is an awful thing to die alone.
This joint got depressing. I'm sad now, like.
An accident.
Damn. This took a change.
I wanted to make a different kind of video, one that's a little bit more chill, a little bit more like the video essays I like to watch. So I hope you enjoyed. Take care. Thank you for watching. This has been Scrawls.
Man, go sub the Scrawls page right now, bro. I don't even know where to start, man. I ain't gonna lie, this video got serious, you know what I'm saying? The reason it got depressing, because it got real, you feel me? A lot of these things apply to real life, and that's honestly crazy. It really is a fest. And most of the stories, the reason the villain even got created in the first place is because of the world that the story takes place in. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, you trying to fight for this world. You whole time you supposed to be the hero fighting for this world, but you fight for it, you're gonna make the same thing. Man, I need some time to sit. And I'm about to sit here for the next 30 minutes, probably sitting here thinking about this. You know, honestly, my vibe's a little thrown off. But this was really a good video, though, bro. This is a good watch. Shout out to Scrawl. Y'all go to hit that sub button and go show some love. Hit that sub button on my page. The goal is 240 by Saturday, man. But I just want to say, Dukes and Smurfs, I'm sorry, I didn't know your backstory. That's a crazy backstory. You are okay, bro. You know what I'm saying? You deserve to do what you're doing. I'm not even mad at you no more. Death from Puss in Boots, you don't get a pass. You're crazy. But I understand some of them. Y'all comment down below who is y'all favorite villain of all time. But we out of here.